A distant sense of sadness and loss hangs in the air. Buildings and streets lay desolate. The wind whistles through broken glass. Uninhabited, existing not as memorable statues, but as windows into time. These locations were once full of life. Now, only a ghostly, faded ambience lay strewn about. A generation overtaken by a now thriving nature. What exists now is void. An echo inevitably left to be witnessed. A lingering reminder of the fragile impermanence of life. Now, left to rot in solitude, like corpses of an unmarked grave. Abandonment is all part of the human experience. It is nature to us, to be progressive, to leave behind the present. It is always a harrowing reminder that we are not in control, that we are simply here to witness the power of time. There are locations around the globe kept as memorials, as concepts of history. But what if I were to conjure up the idea that there are locations that are abandoned, but not due to tragedy or natural causes, but because of darker, perplexing reasons. Reasons we can't seem to understand. And, in some situations, we don't want to understand. Cities, towns, villages, miscellaneous islands, all which appear up to date, modernized and polished, but not a soul to be experienced. Almost eerily similar to Potemkin villages, locations that are maintained, but simply as a facade, to throw off the general public and allure the idea that there is nothing to be seen here, nothing to worry about. Users on 4chan's paranormal board, X, came across this idea, defining these locations as empty towns, a liminal space between reality and society. February 1st, 2016. Empty towns. Has X ever encountered this phenomenon? Specifically, driving into a town or a place that one would expect to find a large amount of humans, only to find none at all. I had this happen a few years ago when I went with my family to Hawthorne, Nevada. It was a Saturday afternoon, and the town had a population of 3,000 people, which is small, but surely one would see a single person. We were looking for restrooms, and the McDonald's was closed, the stores were closed, the casino was closed, even the hotels were closed. We settled on using public restrooms in a park that we had found. The women's restroom had shit smeared everywhere, even the doorknob on the other side. It was absolutely disgusting, and I'm glad nobody touched it. The men's room was a good bit better, but still very unclean, but we all used it. After we finished, we returned to the car. Music started playing from the speakers around town, and we gunned it all the way out of town and didn't slow down for 20 miles. There weren't even other cars on the road. It's like the entire town decided to play a prank on us. What the fuck happened? Not sure if you have ever heard of reality glitches. There is a particular type of glitch that has been often reported, and it's exactly what you describe. Something like logging onto an online game server with no other players. I think I found a fake town last year, like Truman Show fake. Be me, last summer, cross-country road trip, hitting up some national parks for out, in central/southern Utah. It's getting late, like 10 p.m. Been driving since 6-ish. It's dark as fuck, no moon, can only see what's lit up by my headlights. Decide to find some place to rest for the night at next exit. See a town off in the distance. Turn off on only pull-off I've seen for over an hour. Heading towards town. Pull-off is unmarked and unlit. It's not on car GPS, and there's no cell service. Town is directly ahead though, so keep going. Road turns to dirt road, and is about 5 miles until it turns to pavement again. Right at the town where businesses and houses started showing up. Immediately, the town strikes me as weird. Nobody is on the streets. No cars on the streets, or even in the businesses' parking lots. Jazz music is being pumped through the streets for some reason. Not loudly, but loud enough to hear. This town that looked to be about 7 blocks wide from some miles out has every major fast food chain I've heard of, and 7 hotels on the main street. Still, no cell service. And it's still not on the car's GPS. Go to get food. KFC was fully illuminated and unlocked, with nobody there. Same thing with Jack in the Box. McDonald's has a cashier and cook when I go there. Both look annoyed. Take my order. Give me distinctly non-McDonald's nuggets and fries. Leave. Start going to get a bed for the night. Hampton Inn. Empty parking lot. Third annoyed looking person informs me that they're all booked up. La Quinta. Person I'm now convinced was the cook at McDonald's is behind the check-in counter. Also, empty parking lot. Also, fully booked. Holiday Inn Express. Empty parking lot. Person that was clearly the fucking cashier at McDonald's is now behind the check-in counter. Surprisingly, they have rooms. Ask him if he's the guy from McDonald's. No, that's my brother. Fuck it, good enough for me. Get to room. Wi-Fi exists, but nothing loads. Shower and crash. Wake up next day. No breakfast in lobby. No other guests. McDonald's guy still there for checkout. Ask him how to get out of town. Same road you came in on. Head to McDonald's to get something to eat. Town is still playing smooth jazz. Still, nobody on the street. Order at drive-thru. Drive-thru lady is definitely the lady from the Hampton Inn. Ordered a fucking McGriddle and black coffee. She hands me a microwaved English muffin sandwich, and what I assume to be some kind of instant coffee. Place is too fucking weird to stay and argue. Heading down the only fucking road in and out of town. Maybe 3 miles onto the 5-mile dirt road, I notice big metal wire fence on both sides of the road in the desert. They meet on the road and a big motorized gate that is open. Soon as I pass through, gate starts closing. Get back on the road. Finally get onto 62? That's not right. Could have sworn I was on 89 when I decided to pull off. And there's mountains in between. Finally get cell service. Nothing matches description of town. None of the charges ever show up on my card. I've told some people and one suggested it was Richfield, but I know I was south of there. And, you know, they would have actually charged me for stuff. It's difficult enough to research baseless comments posted on 4chan, but with this story, I was actually able to stumble across a Tumblr post about this exact story. A user theorizes that the anon who wrote the story accidentally stumbled onto a secret military base. Afterwards, another comment comes forward with a rather too precise description of where anon went to. OP accidentally drove onto a government training site. Most of the major agencies, FBI, CIA, etc., supposedly maintain small, fake, but fully built and realistic towns, all for training exercises. The people in town were base staff, and they were all pissed off at him because they were gonna have to fill out long and tedious reports about a civilian getting onto the site. Paiute Reservoir, East Bank. Military installation that is blocked on Google Maps. It's visible from 89, and the road south passes through a Google Maps censored security gate right before 62. This incident is just one out of 100, but a select few others in the thread discuss experiencing their own empty towns. I've ran into a few of these in Washington and Oregon. It is indeed very unsettling to be in a town and not be able to find another person. They were also close to military installations. Very fucking weird. Actually, I have a similar experience. First year of college. Went to local community college, so stayed in hometown. Bored as usual. Driving around killing time with 3 friends. See road and think, I've never been that way before. None of my friends had either. Head that way. Probably 11 p.m., so it's dark out. Eventually come to a town. There are a lot of small farming communities around here, but we hadn't heard of this one. Muncie is the name. Population 1,100. First thought is, that's a lot of people for me to never heard of, and for it to be less than 20 miles from hometown of 2,100. Roll into town. First thing I see is a cemetery. Then, a large, very beautiful church. Past police and fire station, same building. And then, a public basketball court. We get to a 4-way intersection, which seems to be the middle of town. And we just stop to talk about how this town could have possibly been unknown to us. 3 of the 4 of us have lived in this area our entire lives, and the 4th had been there for almost 10 years. At this point, we noticed that there are no lights on anywhere. Even the street lights were off. Then we noticed that we haven't seen a car, either on the road or parked in the town. It was like the town was evacuated. Not one house had a light on or a car outside. On the main road, we passed 40 to 50-ish houses, and we could see down the side roads because the moon was fairly bright that night. Not one single fucking person. Leave the town, vow to come back the next day. Next day we go back and our jaws fucking drop. Cars are everywhere. Almost every single driveway has one. Probably 20 kids playing basketball. Turns out, there were multiple courts. People are mowing lawns, there are city workers painting the curbs, women jogging. We couldn't believe our eyes. There was more happening there than there was in our hometown. Why in the fuck have I not heard of Muncie before? Ask other friends. Not one of them had heard of it. Never went back. Something about it creeped me out, even when there were people there. Also, something I wanted to mention but couldn't because of the character limit. The sporting events. The town had a school and football field. Our town had 2,100 people, and we were in the same conference as every school in the area, with less than 5,000 in their town. We played schools that are farther away, and even in the same direction. One town, Homer, was about 35 miles away from my town, in that same direction. So, Muncie would have been between us and Homer. For them to have a football team and us not know about it is ridiculous. The only possible way that works is if they only scrimmage themselves and never actually play a game. Had something similar happen on the way home from Niagara Falls in January of '02. Me, my friend, and our girlfriends were somewhere in New York on our way back to Maryland driving through a snowstorm. We were in need of gas and pulled off into a town. It was around 11 p.m. and there wasn't one light on, not even a street light. The stoplights were working, which meant the town definitely had power. We drove around for 15 minutes and finally found a gas station that looked like one of the places that should be open 24/7, and that too was closed. On our way out of town, there was one person in a wheelchair just sitting at a corner, staring off into space. To this day, when me and my friend talk about it, it still creeps us out. Only once. Be 1996 to 1998. Live in middle of Tennessee. Bro goes to live with a buddy and his mom in Kentucky for a while. Breaks into a YMCA or some shit one night. Gets in trouble, Buddy's mom says, come get him. We start driving. Get there around noon, pick him up. He tells me and our other brother about taking a shit in the pool. Fuckers all talk. I take a nap. Wake up an hour later. Car is stopped. Just me and my bros in it. What the fuck, friends? That JPEG. We're out of gas, and mom left her wallet at home. She's in the church trying to get some gas money. Probably blowing the preacher.kek. We have a good laugh. Suddenly, realize we're the only car around. Streets are completely carless. Noon on a fucking Saturday. That's shopping day in the South. No cars. Mom comes running out of the church, gets in car, doesn't say anything. Drives until she's clear of town, and we're running on fumes. Didn't see a single car or person anywhere during the drive. Nearly has to coast into a gas station, fill up, grab drinks, on the road again. It's weird, but none of us seemed to want to talk about it. I had the urge, and it just went away. I could tell they were thinking about it, though. We rode in silence back to Tennessee. I asked my mom what happened when I flew back for a visit in October. She had no idea what I was talking about. My brother, the one who had to be picked up, didn't remember the town either. He's the one that cracked the joke about her blowing the preacher. My younger brother, who's been a heavy weed smoker since childbirth, remembers every detail. Even a sign over the church that said, "All who wait, enter here." Wish the fuck that smartphones had been around back then. I do know it was somewhere between Tennessee border and Pikeville, Kentucky. And that's fucking it. My story doesn't quite fit parameters, but it is similar. I live in Oklahoma, and there's a small town next to Miami known as Pitcher. It was a great mining town until lead entered the water supply through huge piles of chat. It was hit by an F5 tornado years ago, and it was destroyed, and only 11 people remain instead of 14,500. Anyways, you will enter town and see the huge piles of chat. Later on, you'll see destroyed houses and businesses, and the remnants of the neighborhood. 1 week after the tornado hit, half of the population left, and the rest simply left without packing anything. Similar thing happened to me in Virginia Beach. 21-year-old me, just married, drives to Virginia Beach with wife, giggity.webm. No traffic the whole way there. Such is life in North Carolina. Out of nowhere, brake lights. Go less than 1 mile in 45 minutes. Nothing on radio. Traffic moves again. That was weird. Finally get to Virginia Beach. Complete ghost town. Go to hotel. Staff says we're not full, but go to this place. Okay. Get there. 3 cars in parking lot. Check in. Hungry, looking for food. 7 p.m. on a Friday, and somehow only 7-Eleven is open. 5 years later, still trying to make sense. In 2005, I was on a road trip with my buddy across Canada, but we decided to take the northern route through the prairies. It's similar to taking the Trans-Canada Highway, but it takes a bit longer, and huge chunks of it are poorly maintained. Anyway, I was getting super low on gas and worried that we wouldn't make it to the next town, about 30 kilometers away. Soon, I saw a beat-up sign that had those symbols for gas and food, pointing down a lonely road to the right. So, we took it. About 5 minutes later, we came across this dusty little town surrounded by farmland on all sides, and not a single fucking person anywhere. The gas station was easy enough to find, but it was closed down and boarded up. We both decided to get the hell out of the little town, and luckily, made it to the original destination before running out of gas. Driving cross-country to visit family, stop at a gas station. It has one of those maps of local areas. Small town a few miles out of the way, figure I've been driving for too long, and could use some relax time. I get there, and the place is fucking deserted. Odd mix of white trash and ghost town. Some houses and shops are boarded up and beat down. Others look like they literally just got walked away from. Get a spooky vibe, It has some forest areas around it that had started to grow back. Get the I'm being watched feeling, and I just leave. A mile outside of town, a state trooper stops me. Tell him where I'm going, and I just stopped back there for the hell of it. He tells me when the recession hit, it took a lot of jobs with it. And to make matters worse, the logging company that supported the town went under. Lots of people lost jobs and left. With nothing else to do, crime went up. It being a small highway town made it perfect for drugs and smuggling. Lots of violence and missing persons, murders, etc. Within a short time, most people moved away. Others got arrested or killed for taking part in said criminal activities. Town was just up and abandoned. Still gets some criminal activity, which is why he stopped me. Advises me to not come back, especially at night. This was back right when the recession was at its worst, and I'd have a hard time finding the place again. It was in Georgia, but with some small Mayberry hole in the whole town that couldn't have had more than a few hundred people. I would like to go back and explore it one day, if my lazy ass could be bothered. I've got a strange story now. Be me. Around 2002. Brazilian. That's it. That's the end of the story. That's scary as hell. Going on a trip to another state. 3-day trip on car. I'm 13. 10 p.m. Night. Dad is still driving to nearest city to find a hotel. Still driving. We can see a city nearby. Totally dark. Feel uneasy. Dad thinks it's a good idea to spend our night in there. Mother and me disagreeing. He still goes for it. City is dark as hell. Can't see shit. Just some 10 lights on the street. Completely empty. No soul alive. We drive around the city for 10 minutes trying to find an inn or somebody. There is a house open with an old woman in the yard drinking some tea. Dad stops at her house. He goes out and asks for some information. My mom and me stays in the car. We wait until he comes back. Mom's in her phone. She dials to her friend. No signal. Damn. I start looking through the car windows, looking for spoopy stuff. Everything is dead. Dad comes back. Old lady said the town got evacuated by something. There is no one there except her. We will continue the voyage. Still spooked by the lack of lights in the city. Looks back at the lady's house. She is on foot, holding the teacup at my direction. Lights go out. I still cannot sleep well thinking about that night. I can't remember the city name though. During my search for this strange phenomena, I looked through 4chan's archives and I came across a haunting story that comes all the way back from 2014. It shares similar traits to the empty towns concept, but this comes with a disturbing, nearly occult-like twist. It may interest some of you. It's not really much of a story. Not yet. The thing is, in the city I live, there are many old abandoned factories. Some of them were like that for decades. I'm living in a district where there are a few near me. Some of them were demolished and some renewed, and there are now apartments in them. But among them, there are a few that, for some reason, was left untouched. I once decided to get into one of them. It was quite small. Once a shoe factory or some shit like that. We managed to break in and pick related. So, yeah, the first floor was kind of disappointing. Nothing really interesting there. And really, there wasn't access for the whole building. The end was the bigger room with a pile of rubbish and a hole in the wall. We presumed it's the way up, and we were not wrong. All we had to do was stockpile some stuff near it and somehow squeeze through. This is where it hit me. Later on, a friend told me that he felt the same. This fucking uneasy feeling that there was something wrong. But hell, so we both didn't say anything. Now, light was terrible, and my friend only took a couple shitty photos that show nothing. Well, he took two that can give you a look into what weird shit we walked in on. First room was normal, nothing there, just some rubbish lying. And then we walked into a second larger room, and this is when it became weird as fuck. There was none of this shit on the first floor, and now the whole fucking floor was covered in styrofoam with some strange symbols on it. The whole fucking walls were covered by these symbols. Yeah, it might not sound scary at all, but being there combined with that weird feeling from earlier had fucking done it. There was something really wrong with this place, and we knew it. I mean, who the hell covers a whole room with such shit? But we decided to keep on. This is also where my friend's phone died. I didn't even bring one with me since I lived near, and I didn't really have the need. Only thing we had was a cheap lighter. Anyway, those fucking drawings, they were also in the other room. More symbols and those weird fucking fetus-like things. Shit was unsettling at least. And the thing is, I only realized it then, that it almost felt as if someone was watching me, which was absurd, since there was no other way to look into that building just like that. We roamed the second floor like that, looking at those weird symbols and fetuses. There was nothing else except those, and we decided to slowly come back. And this is when we heard something, like a slight screech. And then, the wind put out our lighter. In split seconds, we both figured that there was no fucking wind in this building earlier. Not even a slight draft. Maybe we were both just paranoid, but we simultaneously noped as fuck. I don't really remember. I think I saw some movement the moment we escaped through that hole onto the first floor. But that was probably nerves and all. It was dark, the atmosphere was weirding us out, and we lost our reason once we decided to get out of there. Although this place can't leave my mind, I don't think it's the only one like that. I think I will prepare and check out the other factories. Maybe I will go back to this one, maybe during the day. For sure, I am not coming there alone. The original poster of this story would never return with an update. The interesting thing about this empty towns theory is the range of possible explanations behind them. Unknown and uncanny. Disturbing nonetheless.